Wait. Hold the mute. Hold the mute. The gas is already gone. The gas is already gone. I haven't even taken down the racing rig from yesterday, so we're just gonna have to enjoy this launch like this. Welcome to the EJ coverage of the SpaceX coverage of the Maxar 2 mission. I'm still eating, so just gonna
Quite a show, because you're gonna
put
hear
them
those
on.
sonic booms.
Booster landing leg deployed.
That sonic boom is great for us.
That thunderclap
Right on, you boo.
broke the sound barrier.
Side booster separation confirmed.
Just heard the 2 sonic booms here in the room.
Booster landing confirmed.
To date, we've landed Falcon 9 338 times, and we'll be listening again today for that sonic boom as the first stage returns to LZ-1. Now turning our attention back to Falcon 9 on the launch pad, above the first stage is the second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum, or MVAC engine, that ignites after the first stage separates. This is what will carry the Worldview Legion satellites to orbit. And located above the second stage is the payload fairing, which is a large barrel structure at the top of the rocket. At 17 feet in diameter, the carbon composite fairing protects satellites on their way to orbit. The fairing halves are jettisoned approximately 3 minutes into flight and returned to Earth to be recovered by our recovery vessel, Bob. The fairing halves supporting today's mission are both flight-proven, just like our booster, with one half flying for its 17th time and the other for its 7th. This mission is the second of several SpaceX launches for the Maxar Legion constellation that support national security, defense, and humanitarian response for the United States and allied governments. Once complete, the constellation will revisit each part of the Earth 15 times a day, which we'll learn more about in just a minute. The 2 Worldview Legions on board today are Maxar's first satellites that will fly to a mid-inclination orbit, or MIO. MIO means the satellites will orbit around the
We don't know about LC-37NG, but
over the poles, like the rest of the Maxar
yeah, dude, they've been making moves
now. MIO enables dawn to dusk collection and increases Maxar's ability to deliver near and real-time insights. For more on today's mission, let's take a look at this video from Maxar.
The next era in Earth intelligence is here. Okay.
Gorgeous views of our rocket on the launch pad there. And at T-minus 4 minutes and 36 seconds, Falcon 9 is tracking no issues. And of course, the payloads are healthy. Falcon 9 has been loading propellant since T-minus 35.
Strong back lower has started.
There's confirmation that the strong back is preparing to retract away from Falcon 9.
The arms are going to open.
We are expecting fuel loading to finish up on the vehicle at around the T-minus 2 minute mark. And as you heard that call out from Mission Control just now, next up, the transporter erector will retract away from Falcon. Right now, you can see those clamp arms opening up around stage 2. Now the TE will begin to pull away from the rocket slightly. And at T-minus 0, ground hydraulic systems will pull the TE even further away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off and clears the pad. The first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the TE, but the structure is hinged so that it can do that retraction away from the vehicle in preparation for launch. You may also hear it referred to as the strongback by the launch team. We use the TE both to roll the rocket out to the pad and raise it to its vertical launch position. It's also used to route the vehicle's fluids, power, and telemetry umbilicals from the ground systems to the rocket and payload until Falcon 9 transitions to internal power and clears the pad.
Yo, Sammy, what's up, man?
Now, at this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen.
Hey, Moob. How are you? Brian, what's going on? We're about 3 minutes out from the Maxer 2 flight here.
Standing by for
SpaceX.
confirmation of first stage loading completion.
This is booster 1076 on its 16th flight on a
There's the
38
call out right on time.
38
now,
day
we are also
turnaround.
expecting the second stage to finish loading around the T-minus 2 minute mark.
SpaceX's 80th mission
Of
this
course,
year.
those white clouds you see around the vehicle are the chilled gas above the LOX tank venting overboard to maintain pressure in the tank.
Program, what's going on?
Are totally normal.
Are you staying us for the
When
rest of the day
oxygen
or
comes
going
out
back
into
to
the warm
adulting until
Florida air,
noon?
It condenses into actual clouds, giving us that classic pre-liftoff view.
We'll see. We'll see.
At T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will enter startup mode. That means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. Just inside of T-minus
took so
2
long? The
seconds,
drone
we
ship,
will
dude.
light the M1D engines for liftoff.
Thomas, you're watching from your backyard? Heck yeah, man. Where's my Space Coast gang at?
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
There's confirmation that Falcon 9 is fully loaded and stepping into the final minutes of terminal count.
Oh, dude, look.
The two
look.
Worldview Legion satellites
Hold up.
continue
Hold
to
up.
be
Quiet for a second. You could see the Space Operations Center right there, the Spock. Look, they're extending the roof. That's ULA doing that right there. They're extending the height of the building so they can build rockets in there. Super cool. Here we go. Hey,
Those
Grab.
gas closeouts on the vehicle also include venting of the TE LOX line, which is giving you those extra clouds.
They
at the
could
bottom of
probably
your
turn them
screen.
around in 2 weeks, Element.
Great views
the
of
drone
rockets
ships.
today.
Seriously.
Looks like a beautiful day in Florida.
Of course. Every day is a beautiful day in Florida. Hey, Tara, what's going on?
Falcon 9 is in startup.
We'll see, Hibbit.
Confirmation that Falcon 9 is in startup mode, and with that, we are standing by for the launch director's final call for go for launch.
Go for hamster. LD should report go for launch
LD, go for launch.
right now.
There you heard the LD give that final go. So with just about T-minus
Sevi, I know,
37
right?
seconds to go, all systems are go for the launch of Falcon 9 and the Worldview Legion satellites.
All systems are go is
30
over
seconds.
there. Just chat. Inside of 30. There's the vape cloud. Ground gas closeout here. 20 seconds.
T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10.
Sound suppressor is on.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Ignition.
2, 1.
Green flash.
Ignition. And liftoff.
Send it.
Falcon 9. Go Worldview Legion.
Worldview 3 and 4. Maxer 2 launch is in the air on this early Florida morning.
Pitching downrange.
No, Tara, I'm good. T plus 20 seconds into the flight. Liftoff, separation. Everything looked good there. Hello, baby.
At T-plus 30 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40,
Roll program.
carrying the Worldview Legion satellites. After clearing the tower, we tilt or gimbal the engines to initiate a roll maneuver, which you're getting a good view of on your
Oh.
screen right now.
nominal.
Confirmation
call.
there that power and telemetry for Falcon 9 are both nominal. That gimbaling maneuver that we're watching enables the vehicle's antennas to stay in the best position for
They might
both
jack source,
communicating
who
with
knows?
the ground. And with that call out, we also know that Falcon 9 is now moving faster than the speed of sound. So right now, while the vehicle is still going up, it's also moving horizontally
Discovery, go and
away
throttle
from
up.
the launch pad.
Neo.
And there we heard the call out for max
Maximum
Q,
dynamic
which of
pressure.
course is the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle.
Yeah, we
9
do have
passes max
wildfire
Q
smoke,
once the
Jim.
air
You ain't
density
wrong. It's a
lowers
little hazy
faster
out.
than the increasing speed of the vehicle.
And back in flight chill.
Now, the rocket needs to go about 17,500 miles per hour horizontally. in order to avoid being
27,500
pulled
miles
back
an
down
hour.
to Earth and
Or
reach
kilometers
orbit.
an hour.
So you can, of course, keep an eye on that stage 1 telemetry at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen and watch for these speed changes throughout ascent.
Telemetries in metric gives velocity in standard.
MECO, then stage
I'm sorry, that's
separation,
funny to me.
Stage 1 flip, SES-1, and first stage boost back burn. MECO will see us shut down all 9 M1D engines on the first stage. Stage separation is when
These
the
are
first
light
and second
payloads,
stages
Jim. They're
of
only
Falcon separate
1,500
from one
kilos,
another.
so
And second
that's
engine
like
start
3,300
burn, or
pounds.
SES-1,
That's not a
is
lot.
when we will light
So we
and
might
leave
see a
that
stubby
engine on the
today.
second stage for the first time.
Mars Polar Lander moment.
MECO.
Main engine cut off. Gas purge. Nope, no
Separation
stubby.
confirmed.
Separation. Upper stage ignition. You should get a little bit of a green flash there. First stage turning back around for a return to launch site burn.
Back startup.
There you heard and are getting
Watch, first
great
stage.
views
Boop.
of those
There it
events
goes.
ongoing.
Oh,
Again, these were MECO,
that's
stage
still cool,
separation,
man.
stage 1
That's still
flip,
cool. There's the
SES-1
second
with that
stage.
great view of MVAC on the right-hand side of your
That's
screen.
still cool.
And confirmation of first stage
Damn.
boost back burn begin. Next up, we are standing
That's
by for fairing
still
separation.
cool. After all these years, it's still pretty neat, man. Should be coming up on fairing separation. Yeah, I know, right, Brandon? It'll never not be cool.
Bearing separation
It's cool, man.
confirmed.
Oh,
There's confirmation from Mission Control that the fairing halves have jettisoned away from the payload.
and it's gone. The bearings are gone.
We
They're
will
all
be
gone.
attempting to retrieve these fairing halves again today once they fall back to Earth with our recovery vessel Bob, which is currently stationed in the Atlantic Ocean.
Desperation is a stinky cologne, JDG.
And confirmation that the boost back burn on stage 1 has shut down.
No. Did I want to check it out? We'll see. This is the 16th mission for booster. I think we
It is
have
T plus
1076
3
is flying
minutes and
today.
48 seconds into today's mission, and the next major milestone we're tracking is actually around the T plus 6 minute mark.
Nominal trajectories.
Confirmation
like when they
there that
disappear in
both vehicles
KSP,
are
yeah,
following
yeah.
nominal trajectories. And as always, you can keep an eye on both stages.
So the first stage is going all the way back to the landing site, Eric. This is going to landing zone 1, which is about, I don't know, like this thing launched out of Space Launch Complex 40. Landing zone 1 is probably about 10 mile, nah, maybe not 10 miles, like 5 or 6 miles south of the launch site. If there was a landing pad next to the launch site, it could land right next to it. But yeah, just because when SpaceX was first going to land boosters and they made the landing site, the Space Force made them make it like as far away from everything as possible, which is funny because it ended up right next to Slick 36. It's next to Space Launch Complex 36. It's next to New Glenn's pad. It was out in the middle of nowhere when they built it. There was nothing there. I mean, there was only old Titan missile pads. Titan and Atlas missile pads. But yeah, this thing is, she's going all the way back to the landing site this time because these payloads, the Maxer 2 payloads, Worldview Legion 3 and 4, are very, very light satellites. For Falcon 9, they're 1,500 kilos with 2 payloads. So that means each satellite is 750 kilos. So that's about 1,500 pounds a pop. Maybe a little bit more than that. They don't weigh very much. Or they don't have a lot of mass. That gives Falcon 9 basically the performance to boost all the way back and land, which is cool.
Side there.
One little oopsie could derail another provider. You know what? Falcon 9 landings are. I mean, yeah, Moise. That's why they made them put the launch site all way out in the middle of nowhere. Actually, look. Check this out. So, that's Cape Canaveral right there. That's Point Canaveral. The landing zones are like out here somewhere. That not out there somewhere. It's almost at the very tip of the peninsula. That's a very remote spot.
LC-46 is actually at the tip. 36 is right there, and then the landing zone's right next to it. Oh, supersonic retro propulsion from the
Confirmation
business
of burn
end.
startup, and we are
Oh, my
expecting
morning
this
is
entry burn to
made,
last for
dude.
Just about 20 seconds.
Yes! Falcon 9's doing an entry burn. The entry burn is the heat shield. Look, the flames are shaped like a heat shield because it's flying business end first. That's the freaking... Oh, that's still cool.
Confirmation.
I've watched 1,000 of these. It's still cool. Don't care what anybody
The
says.
Merlins on the first stage are optimized for sea level. These achieve
Here we
about
go.
190,000 pounds of thrust.
We can
both
start to
during
make out
ascent
the
and
HIF at Slick
descent.
36 right there.
At liftoff,
46
Falcon
is right
9's
there.
first stage has
The
thrust
landing zone
greater
is
than
right
five
where my mouse
747
cursor is.
airplanes at full power.
Nominal
The
trajectory.
Bring it on home.
engine on the right-hand side of your screen has a much wider nozzle and is optimized to 220,000 pounds of thrust. In
I know,
vacuum.
NG. LC-14, 16, 20. Oh, it's great, man. It's great. It's a
Coming
freaking
up next, we are waiting
renaissance.
for the
Porter!
landing burn of
Porter!
the first stage. Then we'll shut
Supersonic
down
retro
all the engines
propulsion.
on the
I feel like I
second
haven't shared an SSRP with you guys in a long time. It makes me happy. Oh, I'm really happy I woke up today. Oh, green flash, landing burn. Oh, that is the freaking coolest thing ever. Oh, that's good. That's
Incredible views
that's
of
good.
that landing burn for the Falcon 9 booster on your
Whoa.
screen right now. And there was
Dude, that shot
final
was like
move.
right up the business end. Come on. Come on, 1076. Bring it on home.
Stage 2 FTS.
Stage 1 landing light deploy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it loves it. Oh, it loves it. Oh, yeah. Dude, freaking ace. That's so goddamn
That was
cool.
the 16th
Stage 1 landing
launch
confirmed.
and
It's so
landing for this
cool.
first stage.
Come
You
on.
just heard that confirmation from Mission Control.
That was
That
money.
landing marks SpaceX's 339th
It's so
recovery of
freaking
an orbital
good.
class rocket, including
Makes me
first
so
stage
happy.
landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy.
Second stage engine cutoff 1. Stand by for the call for nominal orbit
There's
insertion.
the confirmation of SECO 1
Nominal orbit insertion.
and confirmation of nominal orbital insertion.
Sherman,
Our first payload deployed today will be happening.
oh, you're talking about all this crap that's right there? That's solid oxygen. Yeah. So those are vent lines on the first stage, or on the second stage engine, on the Merlin vacuum. Why are there vent lines? Okay, so 2 reasons. When you go to start up a rocket engine, you have to make sure the rocket engine is at, particularly the turbine machinery, so the fuel pump, right? You got to make sure it's at the right temperature. If it's not at the right temperature, you could spin a bearing in the turbo pump. Spinning a bearing, if that sounds bad, yes, that's very bad. That blows up the rocket engine. You do not want that. So what they do is they flow propellants into the turbine machinery. They basically prime it, right? And that's what those vent lines are for. They prime the thing, and then they vent some prop overboard to make sure that it's fully saturated, right? That gets the turbine machinery, it primes the motor, and it gets your turbo pump down to cryogenic temperatures. The turbo pump is not designed to work at room temperature because they're using liquid oxygen. Liquid oxygen's super freaking cold. Why are they using liquid oxygen? Well, there's no oxygen up there. You got to bring it with you. It's easier to bring it with you as a liquid, right? So the vent lines are venting gaseous oxygen that was used to cool down the turbine machinery, right? It's just like an engine. You got to get it to the right operating temperature, like a car engine, right? So, there's the satellite right there. The 2 satellites are stacked next to each other. They're side by side. So the vent lines are used during engines, like right before they start up the engine, to prime it and get it ready to go and get it to the right temperature. What happens is that gaseous oxygen gets vented overboard, and in that split second where it gets introduced to the vacuum, the temperature drops like crazy. Now everybody says, oh, space is cold. Space isn't cold. Space is nothing. There's nothing there. It's the absence of heat. There's nothing. So when you get that gaseous oxygen, whatever energy is left in that thing in the form of heat just gets immediately zapped out, and it freezes instantly. And then it just stays like that in the vacuum, right? So that's all those snowflakes that you see flying off the engine. That's what that is. It's solid oxygen. Now, I said there's two things. It's twofold, right? So, okay, here's the thing. You're using liquid oxygen. Liquid oxygen oxidizes things really badly. You don't want rust forming in your turbine machinery. The turbine is behind this blanket right here. You don't want rust forming in there. That would be very bad. You'd go to start it again and it wouldn't do it. Because, I mean, you think salt's bad for your car? Liquid oxygen will really make stuff rust real fast, right? So when the engine shuts off, like at second stage engine cutoff, when you said something, what they do is they shoot helium through the turbine machinery, right? And that purges out all the gaseous oxygen and any leftover propellants. You got to basically clean the thing and get it ready to be primed again for the next burn. Yeah, so you see a couple of vent lines right there. There's 3 on either side. So 1, 2, and 3, and you can still see there's some solid oxygen accumulated on it. But here's the thing. Notice that one of them doesn't have it. Now, so I said they purged it out with helium. So helium is going out those lines. But the thing is, it's easy to get solid oxygen up there. It's really difficult. You're not going to get solid helium just because of phase changes over different elements. Helium is really hard to get to solidify. Like, you've never heard of that. You've heard of helium being a gas because basically helium exists as a gas from basically like 5 Kelvin to, who knows how hot, like basically as hot as the sun, right? So you're not going to get helium to solidify. So when they outgas the helium, it stays gas in there, even despite the temperature dropping. Yeah. Oxygen, on the other hand, though, freezes at a certain temperature, and that temperature is not near 0 Kelvin like helium. It's not near absolute zero, so that's why the liquid oxygen and the gaseous oxygen, when they vent it, it solidifies, and the helium doesn't. Yeah, pretty cool, right? Why helium? Okay. Yeah, no, good question. Why helium? It's light. Well, remember, we're talking about up in space, so weight has nothing to do with it. It's mass. If you look at helium on a periodic table of the elements, it is one of the lowest mass elements around. Helium it's inert, it's non-reactive, very conductive of heat, which is good. Those are all 3 good things, right? And it's super freaking light. Super light. Thanks for the extensive explanation. That was the simple version, Sherman. Rocket science is complicated, homie. Yeah, that was the simple version. I'm sorry. That thing is complicated. But yeah, there's a big fuel pump in here. The fuel pump has 2 impellers on it. So there's 2 pumps on a single rotating shaft, right? And they move liquid oxygen and RP1, which is basically diesel fuel or jet fuel. It's more like jet fuel into the rocket engine. And what's driving that pump is a jet engine. Yeah. Rocket engines use jet engines for fuel pumps. Yeah. Not a turbojet, a jet engine. Differences. Yeah. Cool, huh? So sometimes you see that solid oxygen get stuck on this recirculation manifold right there. I just said that, it's a jet engine with a fuel pump attached to the front. Think like a gas turbine, like a helicopter engine that's designed to make shaft horsepower, but it's turning a fuel pump instead. Dude, it's pretty friggin' metal. It's pretty awesome. And it also is made out of metal. That recirculation manifold is where the exhaust from the jet engine goes. They pipe it right into the nozzle to keep it cool. Because the jet engine exhaust is cooler than the rocket engine exhausts. Yeah, all about relative heat. Yeah, rockets are the most metal thing around. It's like, dude, let's take this jet engine, right? And let's use it to pump fuel. And then let's blow up that fuel and oxidizer and shoot it out the back. It's metal. It's freaking sick, dude. Cooking Fat here, reporting for duty. What's up? What's up, Cooking? Over in the YouTube chat. Yep. Now let's put humans on it. Well, they're going to very soon. So this looks to be about a 50 degree, maybe a 45 degree inclined orbit here. Notice they went northeast out of the Cape. It's not 50 degrees. 50 degrees, they'd go over Shannon. But this is going over southern France. It looks like it's going over the Pyrenees. So this would be like a 45 degree insertion there. What does that mean? Okay, EJ plain English thing again. I'm nerding out. Sorry about that. The orbit is tilted relative to Earth's equator. So the orbit is like kind of going northeast, I guess. And if it's a tilted orbit and when it crosses the equator, it'll make an angle. And the angle that it crosses, the differential angle that it crosses the equator, that's not differential, right? When it crosses the equator, if you make an angle, that's what the track is. It's an inclination. It's 45 degrees. That's what it looks like. I'm taking a guess. What mission is the next human flight? Polaris Dawn is the next one, which is a ballsy-ass mission from SpaceX and from Jared Isaacman and his cadre of flight engineers. You're up early? Hey, man. Yeah, I'm up early because I wanted to watch the Maxer thing. Here, they're in a coast right now. AP, check this out, dude. Here, let me back it up. X video. Wait. Okay. Watch. Back it up over here. Ah, dang it. We can't go back in the cast because X video. I'm gonna keep calling it that, dude. Don't type that. Yeah, no, it's good. Ah, we can't go back, dude. The landing footage was choice. SpaceX had to have posted it. Here. This isn't the best part, but... Oh, yeah.
Incredible views of that landing burn for the Falcon 9 booster.
Dude, they cut the footage, though. Like, I don't mean to interrupt, right? They had the footage of the booster coming back, and you saw the triethyl aluminum, triethyl borane explosion. You saw the igniter fluid go off. You could see the engine start. Like, they were looking up the business end during the landing burn. It was sick. Like, they didn't show it in this footage. That's what I want. That was the best part. That's the part they usually don't show.
Incredible views of that landing.
Not that they have a camera to show it, but...
Booster on your screen right
Oh,
now.
hell yeah.
And there was that sonic boom.
Oh, yeah.
Stage 2 FTS.
Oh, mama. That's cool. That never gets old, man. Okay, so for the uninitiated, you don't know, that thing is 15 stories tall. It's as tall as a 15-story building. It's a freaking skyscraper coming back down and landing. That
Incredible views of that landing burn for the Falcon 9 booster on your screen right now. And there was that sonic boom.
Speaking of triethyl aluminum and triethyl boron, the SR-71 had T-tab as an igniter for its afterburner. It's not for the afterburner. It's for restarting the J-58. They had to restart it. Why did they have to restart it? Well, when the J-58 is in ramjet mode, you shut the turbine off. The ramjet will work by itself. You don't need the turbine. But Dax, they had to have a way to restart those engines, right? So they used T-tab to restart the J-58. That's where it came from. Yeah. T-tab, triethyl aluminum and triethyl borane. When you TEATEB. When you take those things and you combine them, it makes a super awesome chemical that I know nothing about. And when you combine those two, if they find oxygen, they become hypergolic with oxygen. So in a rocket engine, you remember I was telling you guys they pump that liquid oxygen into the motor to get it to prime. They shoot T-tab into the oxygen. It's a little bit more complicated than this. They mix T-tab into the oxygen. It combines and starts the jet engine. That's how SpaceX starts their motors. That's what that green flash is. Dax, on the SR-71, they used it to restart the turbine section of the J-58. Yeah, that's where it came from. It's a good idea. Let's get up to live here. They shut down the engine for ramjet combustion. Yeah. You guys still believe that oh, look at that. Buenos días, amigos. En la península de Iberia. Look at this. It's a nice shot of Spain and Portugal right there. Oi, Portugal, como você está? Are you somewhere else? I don't remember the lighting like this. Jazos, I upgraded the lighting a little while back. As for this, I was playing Summer Car last night, so I'm sitting in my racing chair. I didn't pick up my racing rig last night, and I didn't put it away because I had an idea when I was playing Summer Car that for every beer that I drank in Summer Car, I drank a beer in real life. That was not a good idea. That was not a good idea. that was not smart, but I did it anyway. That was not my best decision, but hey, it was a funny one. Say the astronauts trapped on the ISS. They're not trapped. I'm surprised you made it to launch this morning. Dude, me too. Me too. Dude, I came in from work last night and I'm like, I am not gonna have a good day tomorrow. But I woke up at 7 o'clock and I was like, I'm good to go. I'm ready to watch a rocket launch. I have no idea how I'm not hungover right now. Body's gonna pay for that one later somehow. That's what happens when you're in your 30s. There are repercussions. You can drink like you're in your 20s, but there are repercussions. Okay. Then he said this. Yeah, I saw the footage. Yep. Moo. Yep. Common stream W right there. Oh god, that footage was righteous. Wait until you're 40. Yep. No, we're probably gonna pay for that one later. I'm probably gonna get to like 8 or 9 o'clock tonight and be like, you know. Do you have the corona? Yeah. 40 hits you like a brick wall. Yeah, don't remind me. Yeah, Dead Crew, that's probably accurate, dude. But you got to remember, you want to know how they sleep on the ISS? You take a sleeping bag, you Velcro it to the wall, and you just kind of sit there and float. That's how you sleep. It's awesome. You ever be tossing and turning in bed? You don't know what to do with, like you're trying to put your hands somewhere. You're like, okay, where do I put it? Put it on my side. Put it this way. Astronauts, you sleep. They sleep. Your hands just kind of do this. You just sit there and sleep. Dude, I'm sorry. That must be awesome. There you go, Screaming Seagull. Yeah. I haven't noticed much change between like 31 to 36. I don't feel any different. I just lost hair. That's about it. Feel the same. Now, it's not how I was when I was like 21 to 29, right? No. The article showed that the author had no idea how they sleep in the station. They made it sound like the worst thing that could be happening. Dude, there's plenty of places. You can sleep anywhere. Now, Dead Crew, you don't... Okay, we're coasting a little bit. On the ISS, they do have bedrooms. There are bedrooms. The bedrooms are... How do I put this? The bedrooms would make a porta potty look spacious. Yeah, you sleep in a broom closet. Because think about it, right? You have a room, right? What's the usable space in a room on the ground, right? Usable space in a room on the ground is the floor. You can hang pictures on the walls. Hanging pictures on my wall, right? And you can, you can put like bookshelves up and put stuff on the wall. But the usable space is not the ceiling, right? But on the ISS, you take that and there's no up and down. There's no left and right. There's only orientation relative to the station. But the bedrooms are about, like I said, they're about the size of a porta potty, maybe a little bit smaller, but you have so much usable space because everything is the floor. Think about it. Everything is the floor. So a space that's seemingly about the same volume as a porta potty is actually quite spacious on the ISS. That's a lot of room. Now, Barry doesn't have one of those. Neither does Sunny, for what it's worth. There's only a certain amount of beds. On the ISS, there was once upon a time when it was Space Station Freedom, there was supposed to be a HAB module that was a kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, stuff like that. That module got canceled when Space Station Freedom became the ISS project, and they've just put all the things that they developed from that HAB module into other modules. So the sleeping racks are in Node 2. Yeah, they're in Node 2. They're in the Harmony module. The bathroom is the bathroom is in Node 3, right? By the cupola, believe it or not. Yeah, the bathroom's got a great view on the ISS. Yeah. But here's the thing. The biggest thing about this is that I just said they took those components and they just put them in other modules, right? The kitchen is in Node 1, by the way. It's in the Unity node. That's where the kitchen is. Yeah, that's where the galley. Yeah, they use nautical terms, so galley, head, stuff like that. The modules are completely reconfigurable. You can reconfigure them for anything. You could put a couple of racks of scientific experiments in a slot on the modules, or you could put a bed. It's like IKEA furniture, but it doesn't break. Bathroom should have been in number 2. I mean, I kind of agree with you, man. Like those Japanese sleeping pods. Yeah, Merc. Yeah. Kind of like that, but instead of like horizontal, they're vertical. Actually, they're not vertical. There's, here, let me draw it while we're waiting. So, like, if you're looking at the front of the modules like this, you've seen the interior shots of the ISS. Here, let me make a nice circle for you there. You've seen the interior shots. The interior shot is a square, like that, right? Well, in this aggregate space right here, right here, right here, and right here, that's where the bunks are. So, yeah, you have spaces like that. You know what I'm talking about? And then this is where you can either put a bunch of scientific experiments or you could put a bedroom. Yeah. The ISS modules on the US operational segment are, well, just as their name implies, they're completely modular. You can do whatever with them. You can reconfigure. They don't. There's no reason to, right? But yeah, you can reconfigure them like that. And so the bedrooms are kind of, zenith, nadir, port, and starboard. You can basically put them anywhere here. So in that regard, yeah, I mean, they basically can go anywhere. And like I said, in the modules, here's a picture of Samantha Cristoforetti in one. Like I said, about the size of a porta potty, you Velcro a sleeping bag to the wall. That's it. See? That's basically how it, like I said, about the size of a porta potty, but that's a lot of usable space on the ISS. Yeah, you got plenty of room, dude. So there's 4 of those, right? There's 4 of those, and then on the Russian side of things, there's 3 bedrooms over there. So Butch and Sunny really don't have a place to stay, right? So basically what they're doing is they just find a spot. You can just go find an empty locker and you can sleep in that. So yeah, Dead Crew, say he's roughnecking it on the Columbus module or the Japanese module. It's kind of, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. You're on the ISS. It's pretty cool. I guess no rolling over, dude. You don't need to roll over. There's no need to. You just sit there and you sleep like this. That's it. Seriously, your arms like kind of float. It's weird, man. Like I've seen footage of astronauts sleeping, which when you say that like that, it sounds really bad, especially on the internet. No, it's from a documentary called The Dream is Alive. It was an early shuttle documentary, and it shows the crew of a shuttle sleeping on the mid deck of the shuttle, and they're all sitting there like this. You creep. Yeah, I know, right? What, that doesn't sound as cool when I said it out loud. Just stick yourself to a wall with Velcro and you're good to go. Yeah, and guys, honestly, that sounds superbly comfortable to me. Like, if you think about it, it's super comfortable. You don't have to roll over. You're not stuck on your side. Your joints are all decompressed because you're in microgravity. That's probably the best sleep you ever got. Yeah, no back pain. Nothing. Dude, I'd sleep like a baby up there. In fact, I think it'd be, I think in the future, you know, if space tourism and the commercial space industry in low Earth orbit takes off, I think a physical therapy space station would be quite profitable. Seriously, you go up there. If you're older, you go up there for 2 weeks, decompress everything, let your joints kind of heal, then come back down to the grav well on Earth. Dude, people would buy that. I'd buy that for $1. Space spa, bingo, port, yeah, absolutely. Except for the loud hums through the night. Nathan, I've heard the background noise on the ISS. It sounds like you're in a server room. You just hear fans humming and machinery humming, that's all. I don't know about you. I grew up in the city. That would make me go to sleep. I grew up next to a highway. My house was right next to the freaking highway. Yeah. I cannot fall asleep in dead quiet, guys, because, once again, grew up in the city. Always some idiot revving their engine up and down the road, or a garbage truck, or a street sweeper, or a train or something. I have to have white noise when I sleep. So I'm telling you, if I ever got on the ISS, I would just be like, you know, I'd fall right asleep. Yeah, Theo. I can't sleep in dead quiet, dude. My ears start ringing. And I don't know about you guys, just while we're on the subject, I like sleeping in an ice box. My wife hates it, but I gotta sleep in an ice box. If I don't sleep in an ice box, I will just overheat. I gotta sleep in an ice box. Like, if I could sleep in a walk-in fridge, I would. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, all right. I'm not the only one there. I gotta sleep in an ice box. It's gotta be freaking ice cold. Are you one of those 65F people? Yes. Yep. Yeah, exactly, AP. Yeah, summer's... yeah. No, I got you, man. Try sleeping in an Australian summer. I would have very much trouble getting sleep down there, Scrim. If it was like 40°C outside, I'd be like, I hate everything right now. This sucks. Please, air conditioner, fan, something. Yeah, right, 48. I'm right there with you, dude. Yeah, John, I'm the same way. Summertime, just give me a top sheet and that's it, dude. I grew up sleeping in ADF, right, Panda? Yeah, exactly, man. Right, like, just... I mean, a good, like, you can sleep in ADF, good for you, man. It's got to be ice cold, or else I will overheat, man. Freaking space heater. What's the plan for the Clevis? We'll start up the modeling stuff at about noontime. Primo's like, meanwhile, I got a hoodie on, freezing under the covers. Yep, like I said. Primo's like, oh my God. I'm like, no, come here, I'm the space heater. LOLs 26 hit you like an anti-satellite test. Oof. Nice. All right. Where are we right now? So stage 2 is making its way over Oman. Moving over towards Ethiopia and the Gulf of Aden here. Can you imagine? 35 minutes. Halfway around the world. I need an icebox also. Cole, I gotta sleep in Sub-Zero. Which is weird because I like heat. Like, I like the heat. I love summertime. I can't sleep in the summertime. Try the bed jet. Oh, that's the like bed that's like heated, air conditioned. Yeah, that's kind of cool, man. Or yeah, positive. That part of the world right there is not going through some stuff right now. The brain temperature while you're sleeping drops low. That's why cold is good for decent sleep. Interesting. so hot inside in Germany, I make a full circle before it even reaches 360 degrees. Your AC is crying right now? Okay, we're coming up here on second stage engine start. 40C, that's rookie numbers. Spend a couple weeks in the UAE desert. 43 at night, 100% humidity. No, Baron, I'm good, brother. I'm good. I don't want that at all. Dude, I was having trouble when it was like 90 Fahrenheit in this office with like 70% humidity. I was having trouble talking. I'm like, let alone sleeping in that? No, I'm good. Do we have a date window for IFT5 yet? Second week of September, Cornelius. The schedule's still in flux, though. Second week in September is a guess for me. Yeah, JDG, I saw a YouTuber. I think it was Cletus that advertised that. Yeah, Milan. Yeah, you're the same way. Yep. You had a whole house dehumidifier last year and it made a huge difference. Yeah, pulling the humidity out really. 70 degrees at 70% humidity is not 70 degrees at 30% humidity. That's two different things. Zombie, hey, I've seen a video of something called the Brook Flight Plane, where it would carry planes that had engine failure or any other failure sometime in 1961. Was that a thing that was actually considered? The Brook Flight Plane. That sounds like, Zombie, I don't know, but that sounds like something that 1960s aerospace engineers would come up with. That's me for 2 weeks that you spent there. Baron, I did... Oh, there we go. Signal reacquisition. Telemetry's updating. Yep, okay. That was a ground station handover right there. Because those numbers over there, that's live telemetry. So that's real time what the stage is doing. Obviously, this is an animation. If those numbers stop and then they click and the thing updates like that, they have reacquisition of signal. So, there we go. There's an engine chill down. Or nope, that's not engine chill down. That's RCS. The RCS is aligning the stage for the burn here. We should see these vent lines turn on here in the next 2 to 3 minutes. If I'm looking at this right. It might be a little more than 2 to 3 minutes, but you'll see the vent lines start to turn on. This pulsing right here, the snowflakes that are coming off, solid nitrogen. For the same reason that you're getting solid oxygen here. Falcon 9 second stage has a nitrogen attitude control system, so it's cold gas nitrogen, similar to the first stage. They use that for basically to steer the stage when the engine isn't on. And when you outgas cold gas nitrogen, it solidifies in a split second before it enters the vacuum. Because you're going through phase change, because the temperature drops really quick because vacuum, and then the temperature becomes nothing. Yeah, once again, to understand why that happens, you need to understand what space is doing. Space is not anything. It's not cold, it's not hot, it's nothing. It's the absence of heat, absence of matter. So zero temperature, 0 Kelvin, nothing. So in that split second where the gas is still a gas, right? And it hits the vacuum, the pressure is going to drop. And when you have gas and there's the vent, when you have gas and the pressure drops, right? It freezes, right? Ideal gas law. So you get solidification there of some certain gases. See, there's the gaseous oxygen, right? They're priming the engine, just like I said. Right now what they're doing is getting the turbine machinery to operating temperature by basically flooding it. They're flooding the fuel pump. Similar to like if you have a car with electronic fuel injection, if you turn the key just for a second and you don't turn it to start, you click it for a second, you'll hear a buzzing noise. It's the fuel pump turning on. Zzz, right? Same idea. They're priming the fuel pump. The two cameras are on the back of the engine on opposite sides. These cameras are here, not for our viewing pleasure, even though pretty good. These cameras are here to watch the nozzle. The reason why is because the nozzle radiates heat through black body radiation to keep itself cool. you'll know when the engine lights up, the engine will start glowing. That's how it cools itself. It cools itself by radiating heat. Not convecting, not conducting. It radiates heat. So these cameras are here to make sure that the cooling on the engine is uniform. Because if you get non-uniform cooling on the engine, bad stuff can happen. Or on the nozzle. Part of that cooling is assisted by this gas recirculation manifold that's right here, this collar-looking thing that's on the rocket engine. That's basically the regenerative cooling. The turbine machinery here, that fuel pump thing that I was telling you about, when it turns on, it has a lot of exhaust gas, right? And that exhaust gas gets shot into the nozzle and does something called film cooling here. It'll film cool it. So when the engine starts up, guys, you'll see that basically the collar right here, right below the recirculation manifold, will be nice and cool. It won't change color, but the rest of the nozzle will. Yeah, they film cooled the Merlin vacuum because, yeah, it's really hard to get rid of heat in space for the same reason that this gas solidifies when it hits the vacuum. You can't convect anything. There's no air flowing over this engine because there's no air up there, right? So, and you can't conduct it. You can't put a giant heat sink on the engine. I mean, you could if you really wanted to. Like, that would be pretty mass inefficient, right? You don't want a lot of rocket on your rocket. Less rocket you have on your rocket, more fuel you have on your rocket, the further you're going to go, right?
Hello and welcome back
But
to our mission today for Maxar's
yeah, they cool with
satellites.
light radiation
We are
here.
coming up
It's
on our
pretty cool.
second ignition of the MVAC engine, which we'll hear called out over the nets as SES2, which stands for Second
I'm fine, Gee.
Start 2. We're expecting this burn to be pretty quick, lasting just 4 seconds.
Yeah, 4 seconds might not even be enough to light up the nozzle here. But the engine's primed, the vent lines have stopped. Oh, there's a little bit of additional.
And of course, always keep an eye on our stage 2 telemetry in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Okay, T-Tab should get a green flash here in a second. The vent lines are still going, though. Green flash.
And back ignition.
Boom. Watch, it'll light up.
And shut down.
Wasn't even enough to light it. That was a very
There's
quick
confirmation
insertion
of
burn.
MVAC
There's the helium
SES2
purge.
And SECO2. So with that, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. Just in time.
So now they're venting down the motor. Guys, the reason why this looks so ridiculous is because the Falcon 9 is at the terminator. It's going into nighttime. So the sun is backlighting the venting plume, so that's why it looks like a big strobe light going off. But see, there's that gaseous oxygen solidifying immediately when it hits the vacuum. You can see it shooting out. It looks like a winter wonderland up in here. This is the plane. Let me see. I don't think that was ever made, Zombie, but it still's cool. How do people figure out all this witchcraft of sending stuff into space? Panu, it's really ridiculous, isn't it? Right? Like, how the heck do you even think about this stuff? Well, long story short, a lot of trial and error, a lot of explosions. Yep. Yeah, a lot of explosions. On a little bit of a darker note, actually, it's not really on a darker note. I suppose I could just tell you the history here, like a quick summary. So, I don't know if I could do it in 2 minutes until deploy. Look at that, man. Oof. So, Newton came up with some math for Isaac Newton came up with some math for governing how stuff flies, and then Kepler kind of but from looking at the stars, Johannes Kepler, right, looking at the stars, kind of figured out that stuff's moving around up there, and kind of came up with some rudimentary stuff. I say rudimentary, it's not really, but for how stuff moves around and up in space. And it really didn't take off figuratively until about 120 years ago. JDG, shut up. So Panu, there was a Russian scientist named Konstantin Tsiolkovsky in basically the late 1800s, early 1900s. So Tsiolkovsky was a recluse. He was self-taught. And he went up in a cabin in the woods, Ted Krasinski style, like complete nut job, and started reading about Newton and Kepler and how, there are formulas about how stuff moves around outside of the Earth, right? Like how stuff moves around Earth. And he used that to figure out basically the math for governing how rockets fly. He did it in a log cabin in the middle of the woods outside of Moscow. Like, it's pretty impressive. Like, this guy was totally self-taught. His only influence was basically a book from Newton and books from his local library. The guy was a recluse, right? He came up with the math governing. Oh, there we go. That's one deployed.
Awesome shots of that spacecraft just following deployment. Again, that was the successful deployment of the third Worldview Legion spacecraft. We'll be back in about 19 minutes or at the T plus 1 hour.
There's
and
another
7
satellite
minute
over there.
mark for SES-3, the third of 4 total second stage burns on today's mission. We'll see you soon.
4 burns? Wow, that's nuts. See, there's the other satellite. The satellites were parallel to each other on the payload attachment fitting. So, right? So what happened from there? An American in the 1920s, actually late 19-teens, early 1920s, an American from my home state, Massachusetts, a guy by the name of Robert Goddard got his hands on Tsiolkovsky's math and said, okay, I think I can make something that's powerful enough to maybe eventually get up into space, go fast enough. Because the name of the game in space flight is speed. It's how fast you can go. It has nothing to do with distance. Faster you go, the further you go. It's that simple. All right? That's why I like it. It's about speed. Hot, nasty, badass speed. Eleanor Roosevelt, 1936. Anyway, so Goddard came up with the idea of the liquid fuel rocket engine. He came up with the idea of mixing liquids in a combustion chamber. You just saw a liquid fuel engine fire a second ago on the stream. He's the guy that invented liquid fuel rocket engines. Solid fuel rocket engines have been around for hundreds of years. They were invented by the Chinese. Fireworks. True story. So, he invented liquid fuel, right? Liquid fuel rocket engines. And he successfully tested his first prototype on a golf course in Worcester, Massachusetts in 1922. Right? So from there, a little more time goes by. A young German in 1930s Germany, right? A couple of years later, some stuff has happened. A young German started a rocketry club, when he was in school in the 1930s in Germany. His name was Werner von Braun, right? He started a rocketry club because he thought Goddard's work was really freaking cool. He got his hold on Goddard's work and he said, look, you have a pressure-fed liquid fuel engine. Basically, it's a liquid fuel engine where you have 2 jugs, right? And they just flow liquid fuel. They just use gravity and they just put the liquid fuel in and you go. It's very simple. He said, if we could figure out a way to make a fuel pump to pump the fuel faster into the engine, you could make the engine work, and then you could make something that's powerful enough to basically prove Tsiolkovsky's math. Right? So von Braun started in his rocketry club. He started with the Aggregate 1 rocket in the late 30s. And by the late 30s, early 40s, Germany was doing some not good stuff. Yeah, not great. And von Braun continued his work, right? He continued his work on the Aggregate 2 and the Aggregate 3. He came up with a rocket design called the Aggregate 4. The Aggregate 4 was basically his idea of using a turbine to drive a fuel pump to feed an injector. That right there. So Goddard invented the first liquid fuel rocket engine. Von Braun invented the first turbocharged liquid fuel rocket engine. I say turbocharged very, very loosely. It's not a turbocharger, it's a turbo pump. He was the first one to come up with the idea of using a turbine to drive a pump and feed an engine that way. That gets you the flow rate that you need to make an explosion in a big enough rocket engine to move something useful up into space. So he was working on the Aggregate 4. Guy didn't have a lot of funding. Rocket turns out that this, I mean, in the 1940s, machining, doing precision machining like that, like the tolerances required for a rocket engine, is very, very expensive. The German Chancellor, Hitler, he saw this. He saw what he was doing and he said, oh man, you could use this as an artillery piece. And he funded von Braun's work, right? And he rebranded the Aggregate 4 to the V2 and put a warhead on the front. And now, yeah, that sucks. Douchebag. Like, not saying that guy was good. Von Braun's okay. His rocketry research put us we skipped probably about 10 to 15 years in rocket development. But that was because it was defense spending from Nazi Germany. But hey, whatever. That's the history. You can like it, you can not like it. That's what happened. So, by the end of World War II, by 1945, right? The V2 was very good at what it did, but ultimately useless because way too late. Right? Way too late in the war to make any difference, just like most of the crazy innovations that came out of Nazi Germany, like the first production jet fighter, pulse jets, liquid fuel rockets. So the US and the Soviet Union knew that Germany was screwed, and what either country did was we tried to go after him. So what ended up happening is the Soviets got all of his hardware. They got the factory, Mittelwerk, I think is where it was, and Peenemünde. Peenemünde was where the German Space Center was. It's in northeast Germany on a peninsula over the that shoots out over the Balkans. Or the Baltics, not the Balkans, idiot. Sorry. Too many B's. So the Soviets got the original rocket factory. They got all the hardware, but all of von Braun and his top scientists willingly surrendered to the United States because surrendering on the Eastern Front in World War II for either side is death. So he said, nope, not doing that. So he packed up all of it as much as he could, packed up all of his scientists, and went into Bavaria and surrendered to the US Army. And then from there, you know, the Soviets were going after the stuff. I don't know what their program was called, but the US had a program called Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip was the Office of Strategic Services plan to round up all the German technology so the Soviets wouldn't get it, so we could have a strategic advantage when we eventually would go to fight them. Ultimately, that never happened, which is good. So von Braun and all of his top engineers went to work for the Army, for the US Army. They emigrated to the United States and were given a clean slate. Now, some people think that's controversial, some people don't care. I'm just telling you the facts. You're wondering how this all came to be. This is how it all came to be. From there, the US basically had von Braun continue his research on the Aggregate rocket and made the Redstone rocket. The Redstone rocket was the first rocket to move an American past the line, the kind of universally regarded line of space. It moved Alan Shepard into space in 1961, but that comes a little bit later. Von Braun was doing research for the Army Ballistic Missile Agency in Huntsville with his buddies, right? With all of his top engineers in Huntsville. Come 1957, Sputnik happens. Sputnik was a ICBM that was launched by the Soviet Union. It wasn't carrying a nuke. It was carrying a little satellite about the size of a basketball that beeps. Just doot, 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 doot. But that showed that the Soviet Union could hit the United States with a missile. Like, getting a missile to go that far, it was actually pretty damn impressive in the 50s, right? So it's interesting because all throughout the 50s, von Braun was pressuring the US government. Von Braun and his buddies were like, look, we need to develop these rockets. You're not giving me the funding that I need. We need to develop these rockets because the Soviets got my factory. They got my factory. They're figuring it out. And if we don't figure it out, they will. And then he proved to be right, which is really funny, actually. Proved to be right. A young Soviet engineer named Sergei Korolev, who's the chief designer on the R3, the R5, and the R7, and the N1, if you really want to be technical, basically was the rocket engineer over there that reverse engineered all this stuff and, you know, figured out kind of how to do integration, how to put a launch vehicle together, like how to, you know, strong back, like Korolev invented all of that stuff. And kind of getting a two-stage rocket working. Like, I mean, we had two-stage rockets in the US, but it wasn't like the R7. The R7 was light years ahead of what we had in the late 50s. I mean, we had Atlas missiles in the late 50s. They were okay. Titan 1 was all right. It was two-stage, but it wasn't anything like the R7, right? So, come 1958, as a response to Sputnik, right? Eisenhower makes NASA, and he promises first of all, he's like, von Braun, I want you to work for NASA. And von Braun's like, no, I'm not doing that. You're not putting me in some puppet government agency for like peaceful space exploration where I just sit there and play backburner. He's like, no. You will get the funding that you need. So von Braun's like, yeah, of course I will. Sure, fine. So him and his buddies go, the Army Ballistic Missile Agency in Huntsville gets absorbed and becomes Marshall Space Flight Center in the late 50s, right? Marshall Space Flight Center is still around, by the way. And from there, you know, they start work on heavy lift rockets. So two-stage rockets are now a thing, right? And what they do is work on fully cryogenic hydrolock second stages. That was a big thing. Like, you know, doing the engine chill and using thermodynamics and the vacuum to your advantage, you know, instead of trying to fight against it. Well, I mean, an RL-10 and Centaur stages don't necessarily do that, but long story short, von Braun and his buddies in the early years at NASA pioneer heavy lift launch capabilities, something that is still, that every country that launches into space wants, or even countries that don't. Heavy lift launch capability is the ability to put 25,000 kilos up there, right? Everyone wants that. Everybody still wants that. Like, North Korea wishes they had a rocket like that, right? So him and his buddies pioneer heavy lift launch capability. Now, the funny thing is that Falcon 9 is basically that too. Falcon 9 is a heavy lift launch vehicle, right? So, you know, they're pioneering heavy lift, and then Cuban Missile Crisis happens, and then Kennedy comes along, the Apollo program happens. And the Apollo program is probably the biggest reason why this witchcraft works the way that it does. That's the big one. But you have to understand how we got to that point, right? That's the biggest one, right? So why is the Apollo program such a big deal? Well, von Braun told the US government, he's like, I'm not going to do civilian space exploration unless you give me the money that I need. The guy was always trying to fight for more funding for peaceful space exploration, right? But he knew the money for research was in defense, so he was like, if you're going to relegate me to some backburner space agency that's not really a national priority, I don't want to do this, right? So Eisenhower gave him the funding. Kennedy comes along, proposes the Apollo program, and then gives von Braun and his buddies basically a blank check. And what happens from there, once again, pretty much is how all modern rockets work. The advances that were made, obviously Apollo program, they put somebody on the moon. The advances that were made during the Apollo program, digital flight computer, how avionics are made, stage design, communications antennas, how all the innovations that came out of the Apollo program are basically why this witchcraft, the way that it is the way that it is now. Venting down engines, purging out engines, that did kind of come from earlier efforts, but the Apollo program was really one of the first needs and use cases for multiple engine restarts on orbit. That's a hard thing to do. And now there are some rocket engines pre-Apollo or kind of around the same time that can do it, like Atlas Centaur. It could do that, sure. The Centaur can be restarted a bunch of times because all you need is some heat to get that thing to start. It's really easy to make it start comparatively to other rocket engines. But restarting big, powerful, ridiculous... RL-10 is just a little guy. It's a little rocket engine. Restarting these big boy rocket engines, like doing a lunar transit burn or translunar injection burn, that really came out of the Apollo program, like multiple engine restarts and stuff. All that innovation came from Apollo. Yeah, it came from basically the U.S. government letting Von Braun do what he always wanted to do. And what did he always wanted to do? He always wanted to peacefully explore space, but he knew the money was in weapons development because Mustache Man back in the 30s gave him a blank check to make a missile. So, yeah, from there, I mean, obviously, you know, the Apollo program really kind of kicked off miniaturization of digital processors. And from there, the innovations have just kind of kept going with the technology, right? Yeah, so how does this witchcraft get done? There you go. That's the short story. Long story short, well, that was the short-ish story. The shorter story would be a Russian came up with the math, an American came up with the design, a German perfected that design, and then Americans and Germans perfected, and a Russian further perfected that design. There you go. Sorry, a little bit of a longer answer there. Believe it or not, that was the short version. How often do they maintain the turbines, or do they even at all? I mean, on like a reusable rocket engine, maintaining the turbines, you'd probably have to inspect them, but ideally you'd design something that could be able to withstand hundreds of restarts. Putting the Apollo program dollars in today's dollars is insane in comparison to today's budget. Most people don't seem to understand the breadth of the program. Apollo was ridiculous. But yes, yeah. It's a good question, dude. That's why I decided to answer it. It was a pretty good question, and it's important to understand the context, right? This stuff is ridiculous. Like, yeah, I mean, who thinks of this? Well, engineers. Yeah, there you go, John, right? Did you talk about it, the F1? F1 is a pretty crazy motor. That's awesome, Geek. Oh, here we go. Engine chill down. I hope to see a man on the moon in your lifetime. Panu, it'll happen. If we keep going on this current trajectory, we'll be fine. Yeah. Guys, yeah, if you want to talk about innovations post-Apollo, in terms of propulsion, stage combustion cycles are pretty up there with craziness. I feel like you could write a book on all your spaceflight knowledge. Probably. Newton 40. Hello, old streaming. Remember me? A lot of people come in here with the name Newton. I remember a person named Newton coming in here. I don't know if you're that person or not. That was a long time ago. The new Raptor 3 is crazy. Yeah. As an Aussie, I'm deeply embarrassed by her. She's a lecturer at your university. Yeah. AP. Sorry, man. That is the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. I'm sorry. I know it's kind of at your country's expense, but god dang, is that funny. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sure Australia has many talented breakdancers, dude, but also dude, it was, that I watch that. I can watch that girl dance and I laugh every time. And I know we're not you're not supposed to do that in this day and age. I'm sorry. I just can't. It's hilarious. That's the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. Yeah. Sorry, man. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. It's been like 8 years ago last time since I was online. Yeah, Newton. There's a lot of people named Newton that come in here. I don't recall you specifically, but yeah. The other breakdancers were super talented, John. It's just she's the one that made all the headlines by making a fool of herself. Well, she's reaping the fruits of that labor, Gravshard.
We're coming up
Oh,
on
here
our
we go.
third ignition of the MVAC engine. We're standing by to hear this called out over the nets as SES-3. This will be another quick burn lasting just about 7 seconds.
Yep, they're putting this Worldview 4 into a slightly different orbit. Yeah, JDG, there you go.
MVAC ignition.
Green
There's
flash.
confirmation
Good
of MVAC
ignition.
startup.
Oh, this is a little bit of a longer burn. Shut down. See, the engine started to glow that time.
Confirmation of SECO-3.
Nominal park orbit.
Good
And
parking
there's
orbit
confirmation that we
reported.
have good orbital insertion. With that, we'll be back in about 34 minutes for SES-4.
Jeez.
Our last burn ahead of the final payload deployment today, which we are expecting to be just after T plus 1 hour and 49 minutes. We'll see you soon.
Wow. Is the foil looking part to keep the heat out or in? So, out, Zombie. It keeps the heat out of the turbine machinery. So here's the thing. Here's what's a big pain in the butt about space. I told you that it's not hot, it's not cold, it's nothing, right? But what did I say cools this? Light. That's what is up there. There's light. Light's up there. What's that thing that comes up every day that shines a lot of light? Comes up usually in the morning. Yeah, it's up in the sky. If you look at it for too long, your eyes start to hurt, right? The sun. Thermal radiation is a big deal up there. The reason why is because unless you have something that's really kind of designed to radiate light, turbine machinery is not. Spoiler alert. Everything can overheat up there because you're sitting in the sun all day. My dad's bald head? Yes. If you stare at it too long, your eyes start to hurt. All right. Okay. It's very reflective. Yeah. So, yeah, the blankets there are to shield the turbine machinery because the turbine machinery needs to stay cold. It is very easy for something to overheat in the sun in space. Yeah, very easy. The crazy part about this, guys, is that the side of the engine that's sitting in the sun versus the side that's sitting in the dark, right, when you're up there, it has about 100 C temperature difference. Yeah, 100 centigrade temperature difference between the front, actually about 200. It's 200 C. It's minus 100 to positive 100. It's ridiculous. We're talking about a ridiculous difference here. Now, like I said, think about all that. When you think about a rocket engine firing, the side that's in the sun is going to be hotter than the other side, right? Isn't that, dude, it's crazy. It's very weird. Can they not rotate it so that it takes turns on each side? They absolutely can, zombie, and that's exactly what they do. That's part of the reason why second stages have RCS on the roll axis. So I'll use my Starship model here. They barbecue roll it like this. The Apollo program did this. Not a lot of people know that. While they were coasting out to the moon, they weren't just like, ha. They were doing this. There was a slow and steady RPM on the entire capsule and lunar lander as they were going out to the moon. The reason why was for thermals. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's absolutely a thing. It's called the barbecue roll. Yep. Chase speed. That's so funny. Any thermoelectric generators in there? No, not on this. No. Spit roast in space. You got it, man. Yep, they do that during certain missions. It really depends. RTGs, radioisotope thermoelectric generators are in KSP. RTGs are there. Is that why Apollo 13, when they were venting, stayed relatively stable and didn't absolutely spin because it was already rotating? Kind of. Coherent, I would say that, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say we don't need to curb federal spending, but honestly, NASA is probably one of the more fruitful endeavors of that, of spending. NASA gives you profit. NASA makes money. Yeah. They make money by stimulating local economies. Yeah. Oh yeah. Every dollar that you pump into a NASA facility, you're getting tenfold profit on tax dollars. That one federal tax dollar going into a NASA facility like Kennedy Space Center generates $10 in local taxes, which, you know, because everybody pays federal income tax on, you make more money that way. At least the Fed does. NASA, I would argue that NASA is actually one of the more profitable endeavors for the U.S. government. Interestingly enough. I mean, for what it's worth, guys, the defense spending is the same way, but I don't know. Just matter-of-factly, I'm not trying to make any point. Based on the speed we are advancing in space travel, how long do you estimate until we have steady traffic to the moon or Mars? Nothing is certain, dude, to be honest with you. If we keep going at this pace, routine traffic to the moon, 20 years, 15, 20 years, something like that. Isn't that an infinite money glitch, making tax money, returning it, and getting more out of it? Yep. I mean, and Hans, if you combine that with basing your currency off of, not a commodity like gold, but basing your currency off confidence, right? And the ability to repay stuff, you could basically make an infinite money printer. This is what the US did when we switched off the gold standard in 1970. That was what we did. We basically made an infinite money printer, right? And we drove the Soviet Union's defense spending into the ground because of it, and that's part of the reason why they went under, because they couldn't match us with defense spending. Because in Soviet economies, right, your labor is your currency, and the Soviet Union can't just make more labor. Can't just make more labor. That takes time. Infinite debt printer, more like. Well, there were times where we had the budget balanced with this, dudes. There were times where we had the budget balanced with spending. We weren't in debt 20 years ago. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So clearly there's a way for this to work, but I don't know. It's a good situation where soon enough GDP won't cover interest payments. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be fixed, guys. I'm saying that NASA is probably one of the things that you shouldn't go and gut when you're trying to curb spending, because NASA makes money. Then spent it all. Yeah, proxy wars. What do you want? This conversation's getting too real. I don't like it. Can y'all let me know when the talk of politics and taxes? When it's over. It's over now. Jurist. It's so true. Like, it's kind of true, but also I don't know how I feel about that. Like, you know, you play game. I want to play Workers and Resources after this for a little while before we start Kerbal. Before we start making those parts for KSP. In Workers, yeah, debt is just a game mechanic. You know, it's just a freaking game mechanic. Like, oh. How would the discovery of extraterrestrial life, whether microbial or intelligent, change our place in the universe? What would be an educated guess? I guess it really depends on where we would find it, zombie. Yeah. Life is a game, no? It's just a big RPG. Boys, it's just a big RPG. That's all it is. It's just a big RPG. Kind of pay to win, but that's the game, man. For seeing a good first rocket launch, what would be a good rocket to see? Falcon 9 would probably be the easiest one to see, Bargon. But Starship would probably be good for a first attempt. How do I install cheats into the RPG? I suck at this game. Run for office. Too real? Too real? Too real. Too real. Let's get back to space. Too real. Too real. All right. I'll stop. Too real. Okay. All right. That's where we draw the line. All right. Cool. Too real. Too real. It was a joke. Please. I'm just kidding. That just blew my mind. Sorry. Hey, guys. I've been sitting in my racing rig this entire time. While we're in the coast phase here, I'm going to get my regular chair. So I'm not sitting all the way down here, okay? So here, just enjoy the space tunes here for a second. Listen here, you little... What's the inclination? 45 degrees is what I could tell, Jim, from the track. Are we starting an MM today? No. But I'll get more into that in a second. Be right back, one moment. Okay. All right, I'm back, and I'm up here now. This feels weird all of a sudden. I'm used to being down there.
Discovery, go at throttle.
Pinion, 82-month resub. Thank you, sir. Oh, boy. Oh. Yeah, so we're just... the stage is coasting. They're going to get around to the other side, and then they're going to boost their orbit again. When Titan? Titan is inside. I don't want to get workers fired up, and we can follow the rest of the mission in the background here. Because we don't have a lot of time before we got to start up KSP, but I don't know. It's up to you guys. How many times could they relight the engine? This particular engine, Hans, they can relight. 4 is actually kind of getting to the limits here. They use a pyrophoric igniter, so they have ignition fluid, and you only have so much ignition fluid. Once you run out of ignition fluid, that's it. You can't restart the engine. About when are you going to continue the modeling portion of the stream? I want to see UV and texturing. We will start probably noontime, 1 o'clock. Basically the regular Kerbal segment. Oh, nice. Yeah. I mean, I'm good with one dog, man. Once you start workers and resources, KSP is probably not going to happen. Are you still doing space news at the usual hour? So, first of all, no, Jim. I'll start it.
Discovery, go
when
at
we
throttle.
need to start it, space news will be starting at the normal hour. And 2, you're kind of a douchebag for assuming that. Freaking guy. Come in here. You're going to be a wise guy with me? I'll give you a freaking fresh one, you punk. Arbalest, 58-month resub. Thank you. What happens to that booster now? They'll probably use the remaining igniting fluid to deorbit it, Hans. Yeah. I'm a freaking douchebag for saying that. Yeah, there you go. Now what? Now what are you going to do, you freaking punk Rhode Islander? What, you think we're the same? We ain't the same. You're from the freaking toilet of Massachusetts, guy. Got to make textures in hot pink. I don't want to do that at all. You too can be the 3rd most famous guy in a Dunkin' commercial. It's the armpit of Massachusetts. Get it right. Oh, jeez. All right. So I am going to move this to our second screen here. Okay, I'm going to move it to the second screen. And... okay, we're good. Do you prefer stubby nozzle? No, stubby nozzle is an abomination. Okay, cool. Switching it up. So yeah, the Maxer 2 mission is still ongoing, but we're going to start playing some games because I want to play a lot of different games today and we only have a certain amount of time. So we're going to start workers here until about noontime, 1 o'clock. Probably start up the Kerbal part modeling around then. Let's keep that on in the background here. Stubby is stupid. How about that? Does anyone live by the garden or know that area well? Go, what garden? The Madison Square Garden or the Boston Garden? I know the RS-25 did ground start and only had that, but was the SSME designed to be capable of restarts in space? No. No, it was not. They put the starter on the ground for a reason. Madison Square Garden. That's, I mean, you're basically Midtown New York. Any hotel is going to be good, man. How are you getting there? Hey, Gary, nice watching again after crawling out of my Olympic watching cave and getting back on the US sleep time. There you go, man. 74-month resub. Welcome back. Part modeling yesterday was awesome. Yeah, we'll do more of that today, Dean. Yeah, we'll do more of it. Maybe JDG, yeah. Rhode Island is the buffer to keep the Boston accent away from the rest of us. Yeah, but once you get on the other side of Rhode Island, you get into Connecticut. Half of Connecticut is that, and half of it is New York. You're going to get into this freaking accent all day? You're going to sit here, you listen to people talk like this the entire day? What the hell's the matter with you? And then after that, it's Philly. And Wooter. Wooter. Water. Wooter. We don't talk about them, right? Okay, we've retitled this stream Desert Republic. Enjoy or face wall, please. I learned a lot in the modeling segment. All right, cool. Yeah. Also, Baltimore. Yep, that's right. Have you seen the Aaron earned an iron earn video? Yep. Workers, yeah, lulz. Workers for probably like an hour and a half here. And then Kerbal, we'll keep going with the hinge Kerbal piece. That we got to work on figuring out how to make a collider box today, and then UVing, which
Discovery, go and throttle up.
I haven't UV'd anything in an extremely long time, and I'm very worried now. Fundingo, 19-month resub. I'm just here for the accents. That's fine. You're flying into Newark. Yeah, just take an Uber through the Lincoln Tunnel. That'll work. Seriously, take it. Go get a freaking taxi or a freaking Uber to the Lincoln Tunnel, and that'll put you up right in Midtown New York. You'll be good, guy. The hinge was a good idea, like Kraken Tech parts when. Well, we'll see how it goes. All right.